Hello there, welcome back to Imperator Rome Abridged. In the previous part, things were going pretty well. We ate up a bunch of scraps around our empire and improved ourselves internally, doing some missions and building stuff. But then everything went wrong when we tried to fight the Seleucids and got absolutely annihilated for reasons I still don't quite understand. After that we gave up a bunch of territory, but I was still holding out hopes that we could make a comeback. There are various things we can do to become stronger and potentially go to war with the Seleucids again. The first thing I was thinking about was technology. We've got lots of cities and we've got lots of money. We can combine those two things to fill the cities with libraries. This gives you more citizens, I think, and perhaps more importantly, it gives you a boost to your research points gained from all of these cities. There is a cap, as far as I can tell, to how much research you can have at any one time. So I don't know how close we are to maximizing that or whatever. But we're going to have libraries absolutely everywhere. It's going to be terribly academic to try and get some more technology. The other thing we need are more recruitable people. The amount of pops you can raise up as a levy from each region is roughly based on the extent to which they are your core culture. So we need to assimilate more people and turn them into Meroites, then we'll have a bigger army. As for what we actually do to achieve that, we can put down temples and arenas around the place, especially in our new conquests like Crete right here. And that will then just gradually make them Nubian in the background. I think that's the name of our culture group. Once people are Nubian enough, they can be in the army and we'll get more number. To help us get even more Nubians, we can unintegrate the integrated cultures like the Axumites. So we're going to strip them of their citizenship rights, because while they have those rights, they are automatically protected from our cultural genocide program, meaning they still exist separate to us, not in the army. That means we're going to make them very angry by demoting them back to freemen. They're negative happy with that. I considered giving them some other rights at the same time to make up for it, but then I didn't because you'd lose stability if you did that. We'll just wait. They can be unhappy, but they will gradually be turning over to our side, whatever that actually means in practice. This clip is now 50 years after the last clip. We just jumped ahead, where I'm picking up some important scientific texts. There are some texts you can use to increase the maximum amount of scientific research you can do and just speed it up in general. I think we now have a pretty high cap. We're at 160 something % research efficiency, which sounds good. Sounds like we're going faster than you're supposed to, which is probably going to help us get ahead of the Seleucids. We've got most of the military techs for infantry now. That will be helpful. There are various ones in the religion tree as well that increase troop morale. We've been ignoring navy stuff because I don't really think we'll need much of that. As for integration, things are looking pretty good. Something like 5,000 out of our 7,000 pops are now in our culture group. So most people have been converted. This is a pretty big achievement considering how few people were actually Meroitic in our little corner of the map right down in the beginning. We've spread our culture over most of Egypt and got tons of pops, Arabia as well. We've got anywhere from double to 10 times the amount of recruitable population in various regions. So we could put out a lot of number, but number didn't really help us in that previous war, so I wasn't so sure that this was going to help us. We need to take that combat width thing into consideration and their supply limit as well. I just left that still cooking. We've got even more pops to convert. Along the way, here's a scam I picked up on. When you have political issues with these scorned families demanding more positions for their family members, you can do a trick which I think works in real life as well. You just buy them a boat. We get the cheapest boat possible, throw the guy in question into the boat and say you're an admiral now. And that's that, it gets them off your back. You no longer have the scorned families debuff going on. And you can just do that loads of times and have lots of small navies in principle. I like that idea. Geopolitically, in the last 50 years, nothing really happened. The big empires aren't fighting each other, so there's nothing to report there. We are, though, in second place. We have really high happiness. So I think that's giving us loads of points, even though the Mauryans and the Seleucids are a bigger empire than us. They have more pops at the very least and probably more money. Rome winning, of course, well, that's to be expected, but I was happy to see us beating the other two superpowers just somehow. It doesn't explain how that score is calculated. We are doing something good, apparently. While continuing to wait, I started to think, can we just go to the Black Sea? And I was experimenting with some fleets here. the tooltips do say something about you having naval range, and it says that going there would be beyond our naval range. And I thought, does that mean we can't invade this area, or is there just some like penalty for doing so? Because there are some pockets up here that aren't controlled by the superpowers that we can access by sea, giving us some nice bases that are right nestled within the superpowers, extra easy to start a war over and get attacked / killed, but still slightly more interesting than doing nothing at all. So I sent my fleet over here. We immediately start a naval battle, and what I thought this meant was that if you went over your naval range, your fleet mutinied and it's fighting amongst itself or something. But no, I think this is sheer chance. I happened to sail into a bunch of pirates. We won the battle, so that's good, and then we fight them again trying to escape from them. Well, we've learned that naval range isn't so scary. Maybe we can go beyond it, and with that in mind, we start preparing an invasion force. This is very annoying because when you have an army, it tells you if it can't fit in the nearby set of ships, but it doesn't tell you how many ships you need to fit the army. So you do this sort of trial and error thing, gradually adding more ships to a stack until it says you are allowed to put your troops inside. Well, once that's done, we can send a couple of stacks up to the Crimea, which is currently controlled by Armenian Revolt. Nobody particularly special, so we can just take them on. Already had the casus belli prepared on these guys and a bunch of other guys in the area as well, so we can do some more invasions. And then we get started, and the naval range thing, well, it didn't turn out to be that important. Maybe it's reducing the morale of my fleets or something. They seem to be going okay. I suspect they'll take damage or what have you if we leave them out there. We need to remember to pay our troops since we're at war, had them not being paid during the long peace periods. And now we go for it. As for the actual details of the war, these guys have a couple of thousand troops at most. Here are some getting killed. So us just showing up with a couple of stacks of 20k is enough to guarantee victory. I claim all of the territory in the peace treaty. And there you go, now we have this blob up here. This solves the naval range thing as well, because now it's being calculated out of the ports around here also. We can use this to invade other people in the area, and this is going to be fruitful for us because there are various not superpowers here as mentioned. We're going to go for one pretty much right away because there was no point sending our mercenaries away or anything like that. I thought while we're here, let's just start attacking our neighbours immediately. So I went for Thrace. They're allied to two factions, a single region one we don't need to worry about, and a blue faction down near Pontus. Well, that's fine, I thought. We'll just invade them in the same war and also take their splodge, because I was probably going to do that anyway. Also, because they're separated from each other, they can't help each other, we can just do one at a time, no pressure, and inevitable victory in each one of the wars. There you go, here's us defeating the 6,000 troops of Thrace with no command by the looks of things, easy peasy. Also invading down here at the same time, just because I can, and they're not really going to be resisting. Then we just wait for the forts to fall, and that will be that. I actually do have military access with Rome, by the way, so I can walk between those enemy territories without using my ships, but we also don't need to do that because of the ships. Did have an issue during the war. Somewhere's about to run out of food. This was a new thing. Looks like Alexandria is eating itself to death, and I wasn't quite sure what to do to actually increase food production, having not really faced this issue before. I managed to find a few places nearby that were able to have farms. You can't build farms everywhere. Each place is sort of generating some farms on its own, but you can add the farming settlement to make it a bit more farmy, but only if there's a special food resource in the area or something. The situation is eventually resolved. Meanwhile, back at the war, I've got the armies plugging away at the enemy. I think I had a couple of them on the automatic mode, so they're just doing that for me. Since they can't really lose, we don't need to pay too much attention. There are some enemy troops up there in the Crimea. That's because the blue faction down south had a few bits of territory to the north of our Crimean territories for some reason. They also had some way over to the west in Germany, I noticed as well. I don't know what this faction is, it's just got bits and bobs all over the map. But we're going to take their main bit right there. Here's the result. The only bit I didn't take was that little green speck on the coast of Thrace, which is now our client state instead, and we can use our military access to walk home to the Crimea afterwards. All good stuff. We'll start assimilating and converting these guys and getting stronger and stronger, and it also gives us access to more colourful blobs for us to go for. We can even start going up towards Germany, and I thought that's what I'll do next. We can sneak out of our Crimean territories and start conquering these steppe tribes. A bunch of them are allied together. Well, that actually helps me. That means we can fight them all at the same time and take a big blob of territory up to the edge of the map where it's just impassable terrain. So let's do that right now. These guys aren't going to have any troops, they also don't have any cities, and probably not very much population. This means they cannot resist in any way. It's going to be even more of a slaughter than most of our wars. We essentially just wait here, taking all of their forts at the same time. Once they go down, we'll have their territory. We catch a glimpse of Parthia, our neighbours with a big stack. That's a potential new player in the game. A big superpower is forming in Parthia. They're going to have tons of empty territory up there, but they are a potential target for us, a potential rival now that we're moving up to their border. Our enemies in this war actually took a load of our territory while I wasn't looking, which was pretty inconvenient, so I had to send some troops back to deal with them. Well, just for the sake of some action, let's watch us dealing with them right here as half of our legion goes back to engage these 4,000 troops, and we win instantly. Chances are we're going to be pretty far ahead of them when it comes to military tech now, since these guys won't really be producing technology. That's the end of that. We take this huge blob of territory right here, a nice awkward border shape for us with Rome in a really inconvenient position. I'd like it if Rome was less here so we could take a more circular territory, but this is what we've got. We still have exits to the west into Rugia, so we can conquer around Rome a little bit, and there's Parthia to the east if we want to do something more spicy. For now though, because we have tons of aggressive expansion after all of these wars, I thought let's just sit back, cool off, and do nothing for a bit until people forget about what we did. It's hard for us to assimilate and convert these tribal areas because there are no cities. That means we can't build temples and arenas. In the end, I just blew up all of their forts, since most of them don't need to be here, and then started building cities in a few locations instead, since you can just put a city anywhere, and then once the cities were in place we can put the arenas down and stuff. But now we're going to skip to this. We win! That's the end of the campaign apparently. It just very suddenly happened out of nowhere. While I wasn't filming, waiting for time to pass, a screen pops up saying that, well, we've won. It kind of implies this. We didn't win on the score. Maybe we just did good enough for the game to declare whatever we did a victory for us. Kush is going to last until the end of time as it declares. Well, that sounds good for everybody. That's that then. I suppose there must have been a time limit on the campaign that I had no idea about. It's not even the year 0 yet, so I wasn't exactly expecting the game to end on a time limit. Well, we came second, Rome came first, pretty much the same scoreboard we saw before, but with Parthia, the new rising star, actually overtaking the Seleucids towards the end there. I'm sure we could have done something with them. I can still play the campaign, it doesn't actually kick you out of the game. It was just that reaching that victory screen kind of killed my morale. I thought, oh, that was the end of the game as intended or something. And because what I've been doing hasn't been terribly interesting to play, I kind of took this as an excuse to just stop. The main thing I was interested in still doing is going to cheekily invade Germany and creating the most horrid looking empire where we control Central Europe and Egypt and then have Rome in the middle just waiting to kill us. Well, I probably could do that if I sat down for a few hours and actually went through with the process. It's just that I don't really want to, so I figured this might as well be the end of this Imperator Rome campaign. I ended up just looking around at the various map modes to see how far we'd converted places and spotting a few places that need some more conversion either religiously or culturally, which we can do by spamming down buildings. I actually did put more buildings in, thinking maybe I'd keep playing, but then thought, I guess I won't. I think we've been quite lucky in this campaign, because the Seleucids or the Romans could have stopped us along the way there. It seems that they weren't too aggressive towards us, which is very nice, especially the Romans, who even gave us military access, as noted. We're kind of on good terms with them. We probably could keep expanding around the Romans and somehow capturing stuff on the other side of their territory to create a very awkward and easy to conquer empire for ourselves that, if nobody intervenes, could have the potential to one day become the #1 scoreboard faction, or make us become the #1 scoreboard faction by adding loads of pops from the top end of the map and the places that Rome would probably conquer if we don't do it. I'm not going to do that though. just because it will take a long time and because the game is technically over. The music has even stopped, it's waiting for us to leave at this stage. Well, there you go, that was Imperator Rome. We didn't lose the campaign, and I suppose that's the best we can hope for. We even came in second place, and the game was very congratulatory about our achievements, so we can feel good about that, I suppose. Thanks to everybody who gave me advice in the comments about how to play the game. I feel like maybe I'll come back to play it again one day, but then again, this game is officially dead. The developers say they're not going to support it, so they're not going to fix anything or update it in any way, which they were doing for a long time. And I suppose there's not much difference between playing as Kush and playing as somebody else. Like when you play as a different faction, it's the same game, it's the same number game effectively. So you either play as somebody who can win or you play as somebody who can't, and all of the factions who can win will just play the same. Therefore, I don't feel like there's much replay value. We've probably seen Imperator Rome, and we'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching, I'll play something else soon.